The rain had not stopped for 7 days. It fell over the ancient town of Black Hollow, like a punishment from the sky itself. Streets turned into rivers of mud, rooftops leaked endlessly, and the cold wind whispered through it. Every narrow alley like invisible ghosts searching for forgotten souls. At the edge of the town stood Hollow Hill Manor. No one visited it anymore. The mansion was older than memory itself. Its black stone walls were covered with dead vines, and its broken windows looked like empty eyes staring into the darkness. Children were warned never to go near the hill after sunset. Old people crossed themselves whenever they heard the manor's name, because 20 years ago, an entire family disappeared there in one single night. No bodies were ever found, only screams, long terrible screams. Most people believed the house was cursed. Others believed something far worse lived beneath it. But Ethan Cole did not believe in ghosts. At 26 years old, Ethan was a struggling writer desperate for success. He had spent years writing stories nobody cared about. Publishers rejected him again and again. His apartment was tiny, his bank account nearly empty, and his dreams slowly dying. Then one evening he received a letter. The envelope had no return address. Inside was a single page. Come to Hollow Hill Manor. Write the truth hidden beneath it. You will become famous. But once you enter the house, we'll never truly let you leave. At the bottom was a key. Old, rusty, cold as ice. Most people would have thrown the letter away. Ethan packed his bags immediately. 3 days later, he arrived in Black Hollow. The town looked even darker than the stories described. Fog covered the streets and every face he passed carried fear. When Ethan entered a small diner near the bus station, conversation stopped instantly. The waitress stared at the key in his hand. Her face turned pale. "You're going there," she whispered. Ethan nodded confidently. "I'm a writer? That house kills people." Ethan laughed lightly. "Ghost stories don't scare me." The old man sitting beside the window suddenly spoke. "They should..." His voice sounded weak and broken. The diner became silent. The old man slowly looked at Ethan with eyes filled with terror. "People who enter Hollow Hill Manor begin hearing things," he said. Quietly, first whispers, then crying. "Then the house learns your fears." Ethan smirked, and then the old man's hands trembled. "Then it shows you what waits beneath." A cold silence filled the room, but Ethan ignored them all. Fear, he believed, was created by weak minds. An hour later, Ethan climbed Hollow Hill, carrying only his backpack, notebooks, and camera. The mansion stood before him like a sleeping monster. Thunder exploded across the sky. For a moment, Ethan hesitated. Then he unlocked the gate. The metal screamed loudly as it opened, and somewhere deep inside the house, something answered. The front door opened by itself. Dust covered everything inside, rotten. Furniture lay broken across the floor, and long dark hallways stretched endlessly into the shadows. The smell of mold and decay filled the air. Ethan switched on his flashlight. "Perfect," he whispered. This was exactly the kind of atmosphere readers loved. He began exploring room after room, taking notes carefully. Most of the mansion looked abandoned for decades, but strange details disturbed him. Some candles looked recently melted. Several doors had fresh scratches, and the giant grandfather clock in the hallway was still ticking. Tick, tick, tick. Impossible. The house had no electricity. Ethan moved deeper inside. On the second floor, he discovered a locked room at the end of the corridor. The rusty key from the letter fit perfectly. The door slowly creaked open. Inside was a bedroom. Unlike the rest of the mansion, this room was untouched by dust. A fire burned softly in the fireplace. Fresh flowers rested beside the bed. And sitting near the window was a woman dressed entirely in black. Ethan froze. The woman slowly turned toward him. She looked young, perhaps 25, with pale skin and dark eyes that carried unbearable sadness. "You shouldn't be here," she said softly. Ethan stared in shock. "How are you here?" "I live here." "That's impossible." The woman gave a faint smile. "Nothing in this house follows the rules of the living." A chill crawled down Ethan's spine. "My name is Eleanor," she continued. "You must leave before midnight." "Why?" Instead of answering, Eleanor stood and walked toward him slowly. The house wakes at midnight. The fireplace suddenly cracked loudly. For one brief second, Ethan thought he saw faces screaming inside the flames. Then they vanished. "You're joking," he said nervously. Eleanor stepped closer. "I wish I were." Before Ethan could speak again, the grandfather clock downstairs began ringing. 1, 2, 3. The sound echoed through the mansion like a funeral bell. Eleanor's expression changed instantly. Fear. Real fear. "You need to hide." she whispered urgently. Heavy footsteps echoed somewhere below. Not human footsteps. Something far larger. Thudi, thudi, thudi. The walls themselves seemed to shake. Ethan's breathing became uneven. What is that? Eleanor grabbed his arm tightly. Don't let it see you. The footsteps climbed the stairs slowly. Closer, closer. Then silence. Complete silence. Ethan could hear only his heartbeat. Suddenly, scratch. Something dragged across the hallway wall outside the room. Scratch, scratch. Ethan's flashlight flickered violently. A terrible smell filled the air. Rotten flesh. The bedroom door slowly began opening by itself. Ethan stared at the darkness outside, and then he saw it. A hand, long, grey, twisted. Its fingers looked unnaturally thin, almost like spider legs. The creature slowly leaned into the room. Ethan nearly screamed. Its face was horribly stretched with hollow eyes and a mouth. Split far too wide, black liquid dripped from its skin. As it sniffed the air hungrily, Eleanor covered Ethan's mouth instantly. Don't move, she whispered. The creature tilted its head unnaturally. Crack. Its neck bent sideways with a disgusting sound. Then it smiled. A smile filled with hundreds of needle-like teeth. Ethan felt his body freezing with terror. The monster slowly crawled across the ceiling like an insect. Its movements were wrong. Impossible. Then suddenly, it stopped. The creature sniffed the air once more before crawling backward into the darkness. The footsteps slowly faded away. Ethan collapsed onto the floor, shaking violently. What the hell was that? Eleanor looked toward the hallway. That, she whispered sadly, was once my brother. Lightning flashed outside. And for the first time since arriving, Ethan truly understood. Something terrible lived inside Hollow Hill Manor. Hours passed. Eleanor finally told him the truth. 20 years ago, her family had discovered tunnels beneath the mansion. Hidden deep underground was an ancient chamber older than the town itself. Strange symbols covered the walls, and at the center stood a massive black door. Her father became obsessed with opening it. He believed unimaginable power waited behind it. But the night they unlocked the door, something escaped. Something hungry. One by one, her family changed. Their bodies twisted. Their minds disappeared. Only Eleanor survived. Or at least part of her did. Ethan stared at her carefully. What do you mean? Eleanor looked down silently. Then she pulled back her sleeve. Ethan's blood turned cold. Her arm was transparent. Like smoke. I died that night, she whispered. Ethan stumbled backward in horror. No. I remain because the house won't let me go. The room suddenly became colder. Voices echoed faintly through the walls. Whispers. Hundreds of whispers. Ethan covered his ears. What are they saying? Eleanor looked terrified. They know you're here now. The whispers grew louder. Open the door. Set us free. Feed us. The walls began bleeding black liquid. Furniture shook violently, and somewhere beneath the mansion, something gigantic moved. A deep roar echoed upward from underground. The entire house trembled. Eleanor grabbed Ethan desperately. You must leave now, but it was too late. The grandfather clock struck midnight. Every light in the room died instantly. Darkness swallowed everything. Then the screaming began. Not one voice. Thousands. Ethan ran blindly through the mansion, while terrible sounds chased him from every direction. Doors slammed shut behind him. Hallways twisted impossibly. Paintings moved when he looked away. The house was alive, and it wanted him trapped forever. Suddenly, Ethan heard his mother's voice. Ethan, help me. He froze. Impossible. His mother had died years ago. The voice came from downstairs. Please? Tears filled Ethan's eyes. No. He slowly followed the sound into the basement. The deeper he descended, the colder the air became. The stone stairs seemed endless. Finally, he reached the bottom. A massive underground chamber stretched before him. Ancient symbols covered every wall, and at the center stood the black door. It was enormous, at least 20 feet tall, chains wrapped tightly around it. But the chains were breaking. Something behind the door was breathing. Ethan could hear it. Slow, heavy, hungry. Then he saw dozens of human figures standing silently around the chamber. Transparent figures. Ghosts. Their empty eyes stared directly at him. Among them stood Eleanor, but she looked different now. Older. Sadder. You should have left, she whispered. The black door suddenly shook violently. Boom! Dust rained from the ceiling. Boom! The chains snapped one by one. The whispers became screams. Ethan backed away in panic. What is behind that door? Every ghost spoke together. The end? The final chain broke. Silence filled the chamber. Then slowly, the black door opened. Darkness poured out like liquid. Not normal darkness. Living darkness. And within it appeared something so massive, so horrifying that Ethan's mind struggled to understand it. Eyes. Hundreds of glowing eyes opening inside the void. A voice echoed inside his skull. "We are hungry," Ethan screamed. The creature surged forward. Ghosts were instantly torn apart into shadows. The chamber collapsed violently around him. Eleanor grabbed Ethan's hand. "There's only one way to stop it." She pointed toward an ancient symbol carved into the floor. "Blood seals the door." The monster roared louder. Its countless arms reached toward them. Ethan understood immediately. Someone had to remain behind. Someone had to sacrifice themselves. Eleanor smiled sadly. "I've been trapped here for 20 years, she whispered. "It's time for this house to die." Before Ethan could stop her, Eleanor pushed him toward the staircase. Then she stepped into the center of the symbol. The chamber exploded with blinding light. The creature screamed with a sound beyond human understanding. The black door slowly began closing. Eleanor looked at Ethan one final time. "Tell them we were real." The door slammed shut. Everything collapsed. Ethan barely escaped the mansion before Hollow Hill Manor crumbled entirely into the earth behind him. The storm finally stopped. Morning sunlight touched Black Hollow for the first time in years. But Ethan never fully recovered. People say he became famous after publishing his book about Hollow Hill Manor. Millions read it. Most believed it was fiction. But sometimes late at night, Ethan still hears whispers beneath his floorboards. And every midnight, he sees Eleanor standing silently beside his bed, watching, waiting, as if the darkness beneath Hollow Hill never truly died at all.